Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Maria Kliovkov, and I'm the founding director of Healthy Mourning Revolution. We're here to revolutionize the way you think about grief and mourning. And we're in the middle of what I like to call the Sacred Six. To me, it is the sacred 6 weeks of gratitude between Canadian Thanksgiving in October and US Thanksgiving in November. And we are currently in week 5. This is a very special week for expressing gratitude because this is the week of November 11th, where we have Remembrance Day in Canada and Veterans Day in the United States, and both are days where we honor and we express our gratitude to our veterans, which is really important. It's important that we honor all that they have sacrificed on our behalf. For some, it was the ultimate sacrifice. And so we also have to honor the families that are left to grieve. And of course, grief is the response to any loss, not just loss of life. And there are many losses when it comes to veterans that really do need to be addressed. My father was a veteran. He was a highly decorated officer in the Bulgarian army. And as he was moved to a care facility, I went through some of his desk drawer things to make sure that he had with him everything that was important for him. And I came across a beautiful poem that was sent to him in the 1970s from the US Veterans Society that he was donating money to. And it's called The Soldier's Night Before Christmas. I do not know who wrote it, but in my final visit with my father, I sat on the floor next to his bed. His bed was low down so that he couldn't fall down. And so I was right at his level. And I sat down on the pad that was put there and I read this poem to him. And this man who had not been connecting with any of us as I read the poem reached out and touched me on the shoulder. It's a very touching moment because I think it was a moment for my father where he understood that I, a child of peace, who did not understand war, who did not understand soldiers or the need for soldiers, in reading this poem, he understood that I understood his choices, his efforts, and I was grateful for all that he had done to secure my freedoms, even the freedom to speak against war, right? So I want to offer the reading of this poem as a way of expressing my gratitude to not only my father, but to every war veteran, and for every veteran who did not come home, because we need to remember them all, of course. The Soldier's Night Before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, he lived all alone in a one-bedroom house made of plaster and stone. I had come down the chimney with presents to give, and to see just who in this home did live. I looked all about, a strange sight I did see, no tinsels, no presents, not even a tree. No stocking by the fire, just boots filled with sand. On the wall hung pictures of far distant lands. With medals and badges, awards of all kinds, a sober thought came through my mind. For this house was different, so dark and dreary. I knew I had found the home of a soldier once I could see clearly. I heard stories about them. I had to see more. So I walked down the hall and pushed open the door. And there he lay sleeping, silent, alone, curled up on the floor in his one-bedroom home. His face so gentle, his room in such disorder. Not how I pictured a United States soldier. Was this the hero of whom I'd just read, curled up in his poncho, a floor for his bed? His head was clean shaven, his weathered face tan. I soon understood this was more than a man, for I realized the families that I saw that night owed their lives to these men who were willing to fight. Soon round the world the children would play, and grown-ups would celebrate on a bright Christmas day. They all enjoyed freedom each month of the year because of soldiers like this one lying here. I couldn't help wonder how many lay alone on a cold Christmas Eve in a land far from home. Just the very thought brought a tear to my eye. I dropped to my knees and started to cry. The soldier awakened and I heard a rough voice. Santa, don't cry. This life is my choice. I fight for freedom. I don't ask for more. My life is my God, my country, my core. With that, he rolled over and drifted off into sleep. I couldn't control it. I continued to weep. I watched him for hours, so silent and still. I noticed he shivered from the cold night's chill. Then the soldier rolled over, whispered with a voice so clean and pure, "Carry on, Santa. It's Christmas Day. All is secure." One look at my watch, and I knew he was right. Merry Christmas, my friend, and to all a good night. For those of you who may know that poem, I did leave out two paragraphs that are very specific to the US government that just doesn't feel appropriate right now. But the sentiment of that poem, very appropriate. It is all about gratitude for those who are hurting and those who are in grief and those who have a hard time in knowing how to convert grief to mourning, particularly those who come back from unpopular wars and who need a little extra love around that as well. So I invite you to look into your heart this week, to think about and express gratitude to the veterans. Certainly wearing the poppies is a big part of what we do in Canada. I invite each and every one of you to find your way to honor. And on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, take a minute, if you would, to express your gratitude in a silent prayer. If this has been of any support to you, then I invite you to please like and subscribe and click on the bell so you're notified when a new video is dropped. I put a video up once a week. If you have questions, please put them in the comments section. I answer any question that comes in on the YouTube channels through my podcast, Healthy Morning Revolution Radio. And I invite you to listen to that radio as well. If you want to know how to get to any of these resources, go to healthymourning.com. That's Healthy Mourning, MOURNING.com. You can find me there. And if you need to connect, if you need to talk, if you need to figure out what your next steps are, if you know that you're stuck in some buried and carried grief, and I know certainly around Veterans Day, there's a lot of buried and carried grief that now wants to be converted into mourning. If you're curious about what that conversation is about, then I invite you to come book a discovery call with me, which is a free half hour, where we talk about whatever you want to talk about and we figure out what next steps might be for you wherever you are in your grief journey. And at the beginning of December, we are coming up on our next live launch. Certainly, we want to make sure to be doing this live launch with a specific mind to the holidays, so that everybody understands how to utilize holidays when we're in a grief journey to support ourselves in converting grief to mourning and moving through our grief journey in healthy ways. Much love to all of you. Until next time, namaste.